99 is Encina Martinez. And if I'm not mistaken, both of them were excused.
So we do have a quorum, and I want to thank Mr. Franken for taking over on the November 13th meeting that I overlooked completely.
Certainly.
Yeah, just a busy man sometimes, but yeah, I overlooked it completely, and I thank you for chairing
glad
that
to do it.
that meeting. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item in the agenda is approval of the agenda. Let's stand for a motion to approve.
Move to approve as presented.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, seeing none, so approved. Approval of the minutes of November the 13th, 2023. We'll stand for a motion.
A few corrections under the Pledge of Allegiance. I went ahead and led it myself. I think I did, didn't I, Bob?
Yes, you did.
So take Robert off. These were edited from a previous minutes. So,
So it was,
and then on the resolution 2333, Chairman Montoya was not here. I don't think I asked for that. I think Dominic just presented the reasoning for the budget adjustment. And then I believe that motion was made by Dinah and seconded by Bob.
That might have been me. My paper was hitting the microphone, I think.
The motion was by Dinah.
Okay.
And down below C, where Chairman Montoya inquired about the spending of the funds for Rodriguez Park. That was probably from the previous meeting, the October meeting.
I'm,
Down below letter C, where it says Chairman Montoya inquired about spending for the
Yes, sir.
funds.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
On B, resolution 33, who was the second? I'm sorry.
The second was Robert Witter. Yeah.
Yes. And then, what about item D? This is the minutes from the November meeting, so there should be the December date in there for the next meeting.
For December 18, 2023.
Right. And with those amendments, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend approval.
Do we have a second? First and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
All those opposed, seeing none. Minutes have been approved. Public input, do we have any public input?
No, sir, no public.
No public input. For those of you members that might not know, or it's real news to you, the city of Las Vegas has a new mayor officially. Councilman David Romero is our new mayor. He will serve the next 2 years, replacing the term of past Mayor Trujillo. And we also have an interim city manager sitting before us. Today we have interim city manager, Mr. Tim Montgomery, and he will be leaving the finance duties to Mr. Dominic. That's the update that I have. So, any questions pertaining to
Has the
city?
council decided to do a full search for a new city manager, or?
I believe that item is, it'll be on this Wednesday's agenda for discussion. And actually, an appointment. Mr. Montgomery has been appointed temporarily interim by the mayor till mayor and council decide where we want to go with that. We also have an opening for police chief. That's being advertised. And also, I think that's it, right? Oh, we have an open seat for councilman in Ward 4. And that one, it's up to mayor and council to decide how they will be filling it in. Of course, the mayor is supposed to, according to the charter, the mayor is supposed to bring 2 names before council for approval. But we'll go from there. Next item on the agenda is discussion items. Letter 8, November 2023 Finance Report.
Yes, sir. In our general fund, we have a surplus of $69,321. On our enterprise fund, we have a surplus of $27,099. Our recreation center, we have a deficit of $50,059. Our lodger's tax, a deficit of $38,824. And in our cannabis, we have a surplus of $64,989. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Questions? Let me ask one question. On the recreation center, the last report that I saw was at a 0 entry there, and that one was now, what did you say? It was 50,000 in the deficit?
Yes, sir.
And on the Yabo adult basketball, we're still at 0 entries for 23 and 24?
That's correct, yes, sir. I have made a request to the recreation director as well as the manager to submit an email to us to move those funds out of wellness center into Yabo and adult basketball. They're getting posted to the wrong account on the rec side.
And it's up to the rec center to change them, or to you guys?
It's up to that department director to request that of the finance
Oh,
department.
okay.
Yes, sir.
And that was a month ago,
Yes, sir.
and it still hasn't been done?
That's correct.
Mr. City Manager, can you check into that
Yes, sir.
and get that solved,
Yes, sir.
resolved? Yeah.
How much will that be? Do you have a rough idea?
I can get that for you. Or maybe not. Is Tyler up and running for you? Okay. I don't have a figure for you. I'm sorry, the systems, I'm not up and running.
Okay.
And my follow-up to that is that kind of indicating that we'll be on the deficit till June on this one, on that account? From here on?
And that's not an indication of us being in a deficit, but the rec center usually runs a deficit.
Yeah, but I thought we had budgeted enough for it to cover it for the whole year.
Understood, but the transfers only take place once a month.
Yeah.
And then we do have a
Dominic, did we miss a transfer? Because, oh no, we've actually made an additional, I mean, our transfers are above last year's. So even with that, we still have a deficit, yeah.
yes, and that's due to the fact that the that's not reflected. We should be at 41%, and it's showing 50%. So yes, we're higher in transfers at this point.
You know why the difference in wellness, such a huge, that's the whole,
Let me log into the system, sir, and we'll.
well, that's where Yabble should be. Well, Yabble,
Are you connected already?
Yeah.
Can you enlighten them on the rec center, wellness center as to how much that amount is? And then also on the transfers, to make sure that we, those transfers are in.
And it's all going to wellness, you said?
Correct. System's running a little bit slow this afternoon, gentlemen.
But it's all in there together though.
Right, you'll have to export it and then you can,
It doesn't have,
if you export it into Excel, you can do a sort to just grab those. Extremely slow.
I'm slow, sorry.
My apologies, Mr. City Manager.
Dominic, on all of these, it says wellness and it has the person's name. It's not saying Yabo.
I exported it. I'm trying to remember. Figures, the one with 5,000. So, okay, I found the email I sent to them. At the time I sent it, which was, let's go back. November 7th. Kenny, can you put this on the screen for me, please? So I sent this email to him, and so this was after our prior meeting. And I requested him to move to, I gave him the export because the fee is $75 for the album. And so I just bid based off of that, and I provided this to, whoops, can you put my screen on? Yeah, I'm sorry. So on November 7th, it was $5,025 that needed to be moved from wellness center into Yabel. So is it gonna make a difference? It's just a line item, so it's not gonna be an increase or decrease anyway, it's just gonna be one line item.
Yeah,
moving
to another.
From one place to another.
Okay.
That's the amount as of November 7th.
So it's still gonna be minus 45,000 or so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then let me get
Well, the total won't change. It's gonna move it from wellness to Yabel, so.
Right, yeah. Did you look at those transfers, Darlene?
Oh, so that won't change the bottom line of the
No, sir.
rec center number, because you're just moving it within the rec center.
From one
Okay,
account to the other.
got it. I have a couple questions.
Hold on, mister.
Are we waiting?
I have another question for you.
Yes, sir.
So on your city managers, 4,400. So right there, right now, we haven't had a city manager for forever. So all that savings is still just, we've only used up 7% of that funding appropriated, right?
Oh, you're speaking of the attorney.
Yeah, the attorney, city attorney. And since we're not utilizing that fund, so we're basically, the attorneys that we're utilizing now, we're paying them out of the general fund or professional services?
We're paying those out of the human resources. And then also, Enterprise has within wastewater, gas, solid waste, and water
Yeah.
department, they also have a portion coming out of there.
But the bulk of it is really from HR, and was that budgeted that way?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we are also using, the attorney's office.
And also the attorney's office.
Correct. And I was also given direction again to, move $60,000 out of total FTE within the attorney's office into professional services for attorney's fees, or attorney's fees. This was last week.
And I thought that had to go before mayor and council, anytime you move that kind of money for
I'm
services or for salaries.
I'm doing a simple line item transfer. I'm not moving it between departments. It's staying within one department.
Okay. So a new RFP for the attorney would come out of which line item now? The general fund or HR or?
So general fund is from top to bottom within the government. So you've got all these departments within the general fund, judicial through general services. So, but within those, for instance, manager 4230, I cannot take money from there and move it to attorney's fund, attorneys going through mayor and council and doing a bar.
Okay, that's all. And the new RFP for city attorneys contracts, those are gonna be coming out of what?
That's gonna be coming out of attorney.
Out of attorney? Even though it's an RFP? And then not an in-house attorney?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Peters, go ahead.
A couple questions. The lodger's tax, one that you have. The revenue top spreadsheet says October through October 31st, but then it says 5 months, so it really means November 30th, correct?
That's absolutely correct, sir.
All right.
And my apologies on that. I did mention that before the meeting.
And then the same thing on cannabis, right? Revenue should be November 31st through November 30th. Okay. And then the last question I have is that your reports keep showing that there's a growing cannabis fund surplus. And it's 65,000 so far this year, plus it's got some carry forward from prior years. Is there any action on spending that money on any programs, whatever, at this point?
I have not received any type of direction on that, sir.
Okay. And in general, who would put those requests together to get those funds? Can the city spend cannabis surpluses kind of any way they want it to spend it?
I'm not, I can't say that anyway. I'd have to pull the documentation to give you an honest answer on that.
Okay. And lastly, on the cannabis, can you quickly tell us what the total surplus is in there, counting prior years? I'm guessing it's 106 plus the 65, so that would be 175-ish K. Is that the current surplus?
Top right corner,
What does it say, 170?
17312.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna bring up something else because you have inquired about this on several occasions. And you may inquire a little bit further whenever we go down into the bar that we're doing. So as Chairman Montoya had mentioned, that we are working on spending funds. It was initially thought that we were spending cannabis funds between the PD and the fire department. It's actually under the opioid. And if you
Right.
Take a look up here right now. That 16,498 is spent, and that 13,891 is encumbered to be spent.
Okay.
So the departments are working on it as Chairman Montoya indicated.
Yeah, and I realize that there are some people who misunderstood that what's being spent out of the opioid fund was going to be spent out of the cannabis. That's incorrect. And it looks like the monies that were going to be spent by fire department and police department are being spent, and they're being spent out of the opioid fund, and that's the correct way it should be.
Yes.
Okay. That was my understanding, too, from previous stuff that you've said. Okay.
I don't think cannabis has restrictions.
None?
I don't think so. You might want to double check, but I don't think it does.
Yes, sir.
And has the responsibility to look at trying to spend the $170,000 in cannabis? Is there a department that's supposed to be working on that you're aware of at this point?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, this committee could make a recommendation how to spend it. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, it'll be a mayor and council's decision.
Yes.
Yes. Questions, Mr. Franklin? None? Okay, we'll move on, if there's no other questions, to letter B, resolution 23-34 bar.
Yes, sir.
I'll just ask for an approval of letter A, B, C, and D altogether at the end.
Okay. Now I have a couple of questions
Go ahead.
on this one. Question number one from my standpoint is, it talks about $20,000 to increase revenue and expenses in the amount of $20,000 to Fund 770. What is Fund 770? Old documentation that I have says it's, and I think that's wrong. It says it's Las Vegas Days at the legislature.
That's absolutely correct, sir. And so the title that's on here is actually the account name, if you would, and I could show that to you really quickly. But you're absolutely right. The 770, and thank you for doing your due diligence. If you take a look right here at the blue bar, it's the account name versus the fund number.
So that we're not confused like I was, does this resolution need to change the word Fund 770 to Account 770?
If that's a recommendation of the finance committee, sure. It will, however, prolong this bar from being done for another month.
I would not vote for that. So, and so what does education and recreation mean? What will this money be used for?
Well, it was requested by the community development director
Ah, okay,
to put some funding into this line item or into this fund for Las Vegas Day at the legislature. And I'm not exactly sure what they're gonna purchase, if they're gonna have little handouts or what they're gonna actually, that hasn't crossed my desk as of yet.
okay. And all this resolution is doing is just setting it up
That's correct.
so that it's available to spend. It's not
That's correct.
trying to tell everybody what it is exactly going to be spent on at this point.
And if you may, this was actually part of the original budget, for the FY 2024 budget. It did not get put in there by error. However, during budget hearings last year, it was requested that 20,000, I mean, I know Mayor didn't request it, but previous city manager asked us to add
Okay.
$20,000
All
to
right.
this.
All right,
And so we're just
sure.
fixing the error.
I'm good with
and
that.
also, putting the budget so that community development can do what they need to do.
My next question is, the next line down, to increase revenue and expenses, increase in the amount of $918,000 in Fund 287, which is the opioid abatement settlement, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Yeah, just-
And we actually have received a check for $918,000?
We have not, sir. However, in the interest of saving time, if you would, that I don't want to have to come to mayor and council next month to do this whenever we already, the documentation that was submitted from the state indicates that we are receiving this funding. And so.
Is it for this amount?
I thought, yes, sir.
Okay, no, that's cool.
Let's just put the budget in there.
Yep.
That way, if and when it does come in, we don't have to take it to mayor and council. If we need to.
Okay.
spend on it, we can do so.
But that then adds almost $1 million
Yes, sir.
into the opioid fund that can be spent by mayor and council. And are there restrictions on how that can be spent?
Same as the original. So, I mean, it's literally up to mayor and council. And if I'm not mistaken, Chairman, there was discussion in assisting that new facility that's coming up there in Hot Springs. There was discussion on assisting them, but at the time, we didn't have enough money to make a dent into their $5 million project.
Okay.
And so I don't know if mayor and council wants to go that direction, or
Okay.
if we want to use it as we're using the funds that we have.
Okay, all right. And my last question is, the next one is revenue expense transfer of $8 million from Fund 217 to Fund 646.
Yes, sir.
Now, first of all, have we received the $8 million?
No, sir.
Is that a legislative allotment that we're getting? Okay, so, and is it the kind of project where we have a cap of 8 million, and as we spend it monthly, we have to request reimbursement for it? Okay, I got it. And that's my last questions, sir.
And where's that 8 million from?
That's legislative appropriations.
Legislative. Mr. Franklin, any questions?
Questions, no? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to letter C.
November 2023 AP check report.
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions on that.
Yes.
On page 1, there's two payments that add up to $31,585. And it's for a 2012 bond. And I think it's for the rec center, is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes, 2020 GRT bonds, that's the interest payments.
And so that's a pretty old bond. That's 11-year-old bond now. And how much is left to pay off that bond? Do you know?
Let me see the quickest way I can get it for you. Off the top, no, sir, but
1.2 million.
Is it 2.3 million?
2.5.
2.535, yeah. Now, let me ask you just a hypothetical question. What if the city were to be able to find $2.5 million just laying around? This is really hypothetical. We could pay off that bond program? Is that correct? And in the process, you would save the interest that we would pay each year on that bond program. And you could, use the remaining funds that you get from paying it off to have another bond program? Is that doable?
Hypothetically, however, I would have to go back and look at this documentation on this GRT refunding bond, because some of these state in black and white that you're stuck in with it for the duration.
Yeah, you can't pay it off early, in other
We have
words.
a penalty to pay off, more than likely.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
More than likely.
okay.
And I know I did check into this on a couple of the NMFA loans, and no, it's in black and white that you're stuck with it for the duration, even if you could afford to pay it off.
And being that long ago, that's not a bad rate.
No, no, sir.
And you would want to look at that,
Yeah.
because I agree with you. If it's that old, it's probably at a very, very good interest rate at this point.
Well, I mean, some of those, depending, it could have been 7, 8, 9% going back, how'd you say, 20 years?
No, it's more like 3%, 4%.
But this is 3.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So,
All right. My next question is page 8. It's Crystal Quintana, and she appears here on several other pages. Is she an employee of the city? Pardon?
No, sir.
Okay.
She is a referee for Yabble and things of that nature. She also,
Okay, what about, I don't have it in front of me. What about on page 8? What is that for? It's $280. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but, and I just remember it had an interesting title on it. It says, "Help at the Balloon Fiesta Booth."
so she has a professional services contract with the rec center. And it just so happened, I probably don't want to elaborate too much on this, but it just so happened that she happened to be in Albuquerque when one of our staff, City of Las Vegas staff, got sick and was not able to participate in the Balloon Fiesta. And so she stepped in at the request of the time Councilman Romero.
Okay. So it's a small thing, but we ended up paying her out of rec center monies.
Correct.
And is the rec center okay with that? It's not going to kill their budget, I doubt
it's
it,
not actually-
$280, but
But
how do we handle that?
seeing that it was at the request of at the time Councilman Romero, city manager stated that because it was a community development funded event. They allowed one of their staff to assist in the presence of one of our staff.
Okay.
They requested that the funding come out of that department versus lodger's tax.
And I'm assuming either the rec center director doesn't know about this
Yes, sir.
or approved it as okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll accept that. We won't go any further. All right, next question. Page 24, we wrote a check for over $500,000 to Malloy Dodge, and it looks like it's for police vehicles, if I read all this right. Page 24.
That's correct, and this was also a state legislative appropriation that we received in the amount of $600,000. Page 24. So yes, we did get these vehicles.
How many vehicles did we get? Do you know?
If you'll give me just a moment, I can get there and I can give you the answer to that. 8. 8 vehicles.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Yes. And just so you're aware, because you'll probably ask the question next month, these vehicles still have to be outfitted or upfitted. I'm not sure how it's.
With electronics, you mean
Correct.
radios and that kind of stuff?
Everything else. So we will be spending the difference of $92,000.
Got it, okay. And my last question is, page 27, there's a payment to Authentic Promotions, and it comes out of account 101-4220. What department is 4220?
There. Page 27. Okay.
Page 27, it's Authentic Promotions. It's for $440.
Previous mayor requested these as little handouts, if you would, to different folks.
Okay, and
That's all it is.
so is Department 4220 that it came out of, is that mayor's fund or something like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, Mr. Franklin? No, sir. Anything else, Mr. Dominic, that we should know about this report that comes out?
Nothing at the moment. I did want to, in fact, bring in that $918,000 to finance committee and council, just so that we have it in there. You guys are fully aware that it's coming. It's not here yet, but just so you're aware that it's on its way.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll move on to letter D, next scheduled meeting, January 15th, 23 at 2 p.m.
2024?
2024.
Oh, yeah.
Takes a while to get used to that.
I know.
But before we move on to letter D and the end of this meeting, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve letter A, B, and C.
I will so move.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Since there's a resolution,
Mr. Holmgren,
Four?
Dan Minus, absent. Chairman Montoya, Robert Witters.
Yes.
motion passes.
Yeah.
All in favor, unanimously.
Unanimously, there you go.
Do you have anything else before we end this meeting? Mr. Franklin? Okay. I want just to wish you guys and staff and everyone else a very Merry Christmas. I probably won't see you before Christmas, but enjoy your holidays with your families. Be safe out there, and hopefully we'll see you next year on January 15th, if not earlier,
2024.
2024.
Right.
Mr. Intern City Manager, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, just I'd just like to thank you and the committee. We recognize there were issues with proofing minutes and so forth, and we'll make sure we work on that together as a team and present better documentation next time. So, thank you.
Well, there's a lot going on, so.
The city will move forward, and we will have good leadership, and we will get people back in positions, and our finances are good. We'll work on vacancies and so forth, and we'll move forward. That's all I gotta say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. City Manager. Mr. City Manager, interim city manager. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Do we do a time record or not?